I want to show you how the basic procure to pay process works in Coupa. We're going to look at requisitions. We'll go through an approval process. We'll create the purchase order. We'll do the receipt, and then we'll accept the supplier invoice. So let's take a look at it. I'm logged in as a person that's going to create a requisition. Now I'm going to look up an item just from a catalog that my employer has put together for me. And what I need today is a laptop. So I'm going to type that in. This is going to bring me up options from the catalog that my employer has supplied for me for purchasing such things. And I'm going to go to the second page here, and this is the item I want. So I'm going to add this to my cart. Let's take a look at the cart. This is going to be my entire requisition. I'm going to request a laptop. Now my system's set up to automatically assign an account number for this purchase, and this is based on what I'm purchasing and who I am as a user. I can also attribute this to a particular budget if I want to. So let's scroll down a little bit here, and the approval chain is already set up. This is the requester right here. It needs to go for a group approval to Office Supplies, and then it goes to Steve Chapman for the final approval. So let's submit for approval. I'm now logged in as one of the people in the approval group for Office Supplies, and this is my dashboard. You can see I've got a to-do list down here. Let's take a look at this item right here. So this is the requisition that was just submitted by David Miller. We can scroll through that, and I've got some options. I can reject it or I can approve it, and I can edit it if I want to. I'm just going to go ahead and approve this. Now I'm logged in as the final approver on this particular requisition approval chain, and I've already seen it, so I'm going to go ahead and approve that. When I approve it, it's automatically going to create a PO and send that out to the vendor. Let's take a look at some of the email messages that were created during this process. The first one is an email to the people in the approval chain. You can see an example of that here. Here, David Miller created the requisition, and this email was sent out to people within the approval chain. I can prove it right within the email if I want to. You can see that I get a lot of information right there, or I can do the approval in Coupa as I showed you. This is the email going out to the supplier that shows the purchase order. It allows the supplier to acknowledge the PO if they want to. That information will come back into Coupa. Now let's take a look at the receiving process. I can receive this order in a central receiving facility, or I can have the requisitioner receive this at his desktop, which is what I want to do. So I'm logged back in as the person that created the requisition, David Miller, and you can see his dashboard right here. Here's a PO that just went out. He's got a number of actions that he can perform on this. So let's receive this PO. So that purchase order has now been received. For this particular supplier, I require a three-way match. So I had a purchase order go out, I had the receipt, and now I'm going to put in the vendor's invoice. So let's take a look at that. So this is the purchase order that was sent out to the supplier. Now, all we need to do is we can flip this into a vendor's invoice when we get that vendor's invoice from the supplier. So let's do that. We can scroll down here and click on invoice. This will allow me to take the information from the purchase order and turn that into an approved invoice. So I'm just going to enter the invoice information here. The invoice lines are proper. There's no pricing change. The account's good, so I'm just going to go ahead and submit this. Now in my system, when I submit this, this becomes an approved invoice, and that will be integrated into my ERP system for payment through the accounts payable functionality. So this is a simple procurement to pay process in Coupa. We created a requisition. We went through an approval process. We created the purchase order, sent that out to the supplier. We received the items in, and then we attached the supplier invoice to that PO, and that became an approved invoice.